to the Ketogenic Diet for weight loss. And I am your host, Dr. LuLu. I'm a naturopathic physician and expert in genetic health. And I work with patients experiencing chronic disease, hormonal imbalance, endocrine disorders like the thyroid and blood sugar imbalance, gastrointestinal dysfunction like IBS, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, celiac, particularly depression, anxiety, and fatigue. I work a lot with patients with mental fatigue or mental health conditions, as well as adrenal fatigue. That's a huge part of my practice. A lot of my patients are coming to see me for extreme fatigue. So those are kind of some of the areas that I specialize in. And I really believe that once we dive deep down into the root of the problem of the distortion and ignite our body's innate ability to heal, we really can see unimaginable changes in our well-being. So once we get that fire started and of the things that our body knows but has forgotten, the changes of healing can begin. So where does my passion lie? My passion really lies in helping people discover their zest and joy for life that's kind of got lost along the way of either busy life or chronic illness, bringing them back to that core strength and ability of health. And before starting my business, Dr. LuLu's Naturopathic Clinic, I had a clinic in downtown Asheville where I currently practice. This was a larger clinic with 18 practitioners and lots of different modalities. I closed this clinic during when COVID started, and now I just have my own practice where I'm seeing patients in telemedicine, and I also see patients at the Veterans Healing Farm where I work. I studied interior design as my undergrad, and I love art. I just recently visited the Van Gogh immersive exhibit, and if you haven't been to that and you love art, I can't tell you how much I recommend it. So one other thing that I love is herbal formulation. So I work with herbs with all my patients. I customize formulas and individualize herbs for them. And that's a huge part of what I do and love. And I'm also an international speaker. I've spoken at many conferences around the world, and I love spreading the message of health. That's super important to me. And I also have a new book that just came out a few weeks ago. It's called Detox, Nourish, and Activate: Plant and Vibrational Medicine for Energy, Mood, and Love. It's a fabulous book to really jumpstart your life, to kind of work through those. If you're feeling like you're at a dead end road, it's a great book to kind of bring into your life and really activate the system. So I can't, of course, not talk about and recommend my book because it's fabulous. So make sure you get a copy of that. And I have a podcast, which is called The Genetic Genius, and it's dedicated to epigenetics and genomics and planetary alternative health, really reaching out there to see what's out there, what people are doing, different ways that you can listen in and tune into changes in your health. And I also love to facilitate ceremonies to activate plant and mineral or crystal vibration and medicine around the world. So I'll do ceremonies. And one last thing, I'm the plant and medicine director at the Veterans Healing Farm in Hendersonville, North Carolina, where I help the veterans learn about plant medicine, enrich their lives. I teach workshops there, and I also run the community clinic there, giving free services back to the veterans. So that's just a little bit about me, right? I have a lot going on, and I can't wait for you to learn more about me today as we're going through the webinar. But really, it's about learning about ketogenesis, or the ketogenic diet, I should say. We're going to talk about ketogenesis, but the ketogenic diet. So let's dive in. Oops, here we go. Okay, so the ketogenic diet. So you might be asking yourself, what is the ketogenic diet and where did that term come from? So we're going to start kind of like at the ground level, and then we'll dive, into learning more. So what the ketogenic diet, which you may sometimes hear referred to as the ketogenic diet or keto diet, historically was discovered as early as the 20th century and was, yet still is, an effective solution for individuals suffering from epilepsy. It was originally discovered or kind of made by NASA, and they really wanted to help the pilots when they were going into space who would have a lot of seizures when they were coming back down to earth, right? So it was originally discovered or made during that time period, and it still is used for patients or people suffering from epilepsy or seizures. But then we discovered that the amazing other benefits that it had. So in early times, bodybuilders used to apply it without actually knowing the mechanisms behind it through doing a fish and water diet, quote unquote, fish and water. And additionally, it's a diet that humans historically adhered to naturally before processed sugars became so readily available. So a ketogenic diet, just to lay those ground foundations, is a diet without any sugar. So how about going keto? So a keto diet, which you might sometimes hear referred to as a ketogenic diet or low carb, high fat, LCHF, that's kind of the abbreviation there. It's a popular low carb diet in which the body produces ketones out of the liver. So our liver is one of the organs that produces ketones, and they are what our body uses for energy. And when we're in the ketogenic diet, or in that phase of ketogenesis, our body is able to use those more efficiently. However, with lots of things you hear out there, it might be confusing and complicated to engage in the ketogenic diet because there is a lot of information out there about it, which is why I really wanted to do this webinar, so you could have the information that is from an expert, of course, like myself, but then also to kind of clear up the haze and the fuzz, right? That of the information that can be floating on the internet. So if you're really interested, but don't give up, here's the time for you to dive in and learn more. So if you're really interested in ketosis, I've really gathered the information here for you and my team with helpful information so you can get good help along the way, right? As you're diving deep into learning about ketogenesis and maybe doing a ketogenic plan. So in this guide over the next hour, I'm going to really teach you some of the major facts, considerations, and options that you want to consider before starting this unique diet, because that's really key, learning about what it's about. And then okay, is this nutritional plan or ketogenic diet right for me? So till date, the ketogenic diet has maintained its status of effectiveness and, of course, gaining wider attention among people looking to lose weight faster. It's been, I've worked with many hundreds of patients about using the ketogenic diet in a way that for an accelerated weight loss program. And the ketogenic diet, I usually don't recommend doing it long term because your body you can adjust into something else when you get that weight loss off. And it's not something that you want to stay on for long periods of time. You want to adjust the amount of carbs, protein, and fat. And I'll talk about that. So the ketogenic diet is a low carb, high fat diet. And you can see in this pyramid over on the screen, the fat at the bottom is 70%. So 70% fat, you have 25% protein and 5% carbs. So that is a lot different than what people normally eat. And that's why it causes a lot of weight loss and provides health benefits. It involves significantly reducing carbohydrate intake while increasing protein to the levels necessary to maintain muscle mass with the caloric ratio, approximately 70% fat, 25% protein, and 5 low glycemic carbohydrates. And that kind of fluctuates by the day, but that's kind of where that pyramid or where those numbers are that you're really aiming for. So let's talk about the benefits. This is one thing I really love about the ketogenic diet is amazing benefits. So when you begin a keto diet or ketogenic nutritional plan or meal plan, you can experience many health benefits, and these are just a few. So of course, weight loss is very key and number one. I would think that's kind of one of the main reasons that people might be hearing about the ketogenic diet and want to start it. And increased energy levels. I'll use it a lot with patients who have extreme fatigue as a way to boost their mitochondria. Those are the energy or powerhouses of each cell. So when we're in a really fatigued state, those get drained, so to speak. And the ketogenic diet kind of boosts the mitochondria and helps them to replicate, increasing energy with adrenal fatigue. So really key, if you're suffering from a fatigue, this is a great diet for you. And a keto diet can lower your blood sugar level naturally because of the types of food you eat. It also has more effective ways to prevent and manage diabetes compared to low calorie diets. And so it's great if you're having some problems with insulin and blood sugar levels. If you've been testing, if your blood glucose was tested and it was high, or your HbA1c was high, this is a great, well-studied diet to bring down those blood sugar levels. The diet uses body fat as the energy source, so you'll see some benefits with weight loss. So when you're burning fat for energy, and so that's why you have that weight loss, so key. And with a keto diet, you can increase your mental performance and good brain function because your brain is fueled by a lower carb intake. So I myself find it really helpful when I need to use my brain for extreme circumstances. I love following the ketogenic diet, especially when I'm doing like writing a new book or I'm doing a lot of brain work. It really gives myself a lot of fuel. And with a keto diet, you can feel more energized for the entire day while minimizing hunger. So that is a really key one, because a lot of people say, oh, I've tried this particular diet and it doesn't work for me. I'm always hungry. And keto, you don't feel that way because your body has a reliable source of energy. So since 1990, keto diets have been successfully used to treat epilepsy, like I mentioned. For children who suffer from uncontrollable epilepsy, a keto diet is widely used as an effective therapy. So a keto diet can lower the levels of cholesterol and triglycerides that are mostly associated with arterial buildup. So, that's people are always like, well, how if I'm eating all this fat, how is that going to decrease my cholesterol? And so that's an actual, like a real bonus. And I'll use it with patients that have high cholesterol to have an immediate change and shift in the body to reduce those cholesterol levels. And it can also, like I mentioned, improve blood sugar levels. A low carb keto diet helps lower insulin levels and keep them in a healthy range. Again, key if you're in that pre-diabetic stage or you're wanting to lower that lab work and move out of that diabetic stage so that you're controlling, or managing is a better word, managing your blood sugar much better. When you switch to a keto diet, you'll see an improvement in your skin, such as acne reduction, and pairing the keto diet with a low intake of dairy foods and proper cleaning regime or detox regime to reduce the acne on your skin. So that's another key benefit, is the skin. So let's talk about what kind of foods you eat on the ketogenic diet, right? I think this is a place that really people like when they hear about the ketogenic diet, they go like, well, I'm sure all I'm going to eat is cheese. Well, you can eat that, but that is not our goal. Our goal is to really eat lots and lots of healthy fats, right? So let's talk about the good foods here. So foods to eat. So what you want to do is to plan and make a list of preferred foods when getting started on the keto diet, because it's really specific, as you saw from that pyramid. Let's go back to that slide. You're looking at 70% of your daily intake being fat. So you want to make sure that's a good fat for your body to burn and make fuel or use for fuel. So you want to go through your refrigerator and your cupboards and throw out any of the garbage food that is going to be hanging out in there. And so you can start with a clean slate, so you're not tempted, because you do want to see results, right? Whenever you start a new nutritional plan, especially like a ketogenic diet, you want to see results. That makes it feel good, right? You have more compliance. You should have a varied list of foods on your shopping list. So not just like, 2 things. Varied is great for your body. It helps decrease food sensitivities. And the types of foods you eat on a keto diet will depend on how quickly and easily you get results. The stricter you are in lowering your carb take, so remember that was 5%, the faster you'll reach a keto state. So I'll talk about what that means, being in a keto state or a state of ketosis. You want to limit your carb levels and avoid refined carbs. So not eating grains, wheat, rice, corn, and cereal. So it's no grain diet, no sugar, no honey, no maple syrup, no agave, no fruit. Well, none of these fruits, apples, bananas, and oranges, etc. No tubers. So those are potatoes and yams. And on a keto diet, you can eat meats, leafy greens, above ground veggies, high fat dairy, seeds, nuts, sweeteners, and other fats. So whenever I talk about starting a new nutritional plan with patients, I always say, look at what you can eat instead of what you can't, because then you're helping your body to like, oh yeah, these are all the great things that I can eat. So don't get held up on starting your keto diet because planning is difficult. I'm going to make it super easy for you, and I'll talk about that. So look for a detailed shopping list of meal plans and recipes that are ready-made. So you don't have to think about it, right? And there are dozens of these services online, or you can use my 28-day ketogenic plan, and I'll talk about that at the end. You want to make sure you're getting gluten-free and or low carb, and you can look for keto. There's lots of great resources, like I mentioned. Refer to these meal plans and practice a proper diet for best results. So foods to eat: vegetables, including starchy vegetables, leafy greens, meat, so you can eat beef, lamb, poultry, eggs, and fish, high fat dairy, hard cheeses, high fat, cream, butter, nuts and seeds, macadamias, walnuts, sunflower seeds, oils and fats. So coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, bacon fat. And these are the sweeteners that you can use. So it doesn't use sugar, quote unquote, but there are some alternative sweeteners that you can use. But again, with a keto diet or nutritional plan, you don't want to be substituting everything. Like, if you were eating a lot of, let's say you're having a sweetener or a sweetened treat with each meal, you don't want to substitute that, because that is not giving the correct neurotransmitter pattern in the brain and breaking past food addictions. So some substitutions, like, maybe like once a week, you're going to have something, a nice like little dessert, but you really are cutting back on those switches, right? That you not having like a keto brownie for every meal. Okay, foods to avoid. So no grains, no wheat, corn, rice, or cereal, no fruits, no starchy vegetables, sweet potatoes and squashes, and no sugars, which is the honey, agave, maple syrup, etc. White sugar, coconut sugar, all of those. So it's different in the paleo. If you've heard of the paleo diet or familiar with the paleo diet, they have some similarities, but there have some other things that they eliminate. And in the sugar category, this is one of the things that's very different. You can have like coconut sugar and things like that when you're working with the paleo diet. And you can have you can have some of those starchy vegetables. So let's talk about ketosis. I mentioned that before, and I want to dive into it now so you really understand what the ketosis state is and why it's important that we're reaching it. And this is how you accelerate weight loss and have some of those benefits that I mentioned before. So a keto diet might appear to be complicated. And this is where I want to break things down where it's really easy for you, especially if you have well-meaning friends that give you faulty information. Again, that's what I was like, having like the filter, right? So sometimes that filter can be confusing. So if you know the important steps of how to achieve a straightforward ketosis, you will stay on the right path regardless of the distractions you hear anywhere else. So that's why I love this webinar that I'm giving. I give it frequently so that you can really understand how to reach ketosis and see results. So reaching a keto state or ketosis state is as simple as these steps. So 1, restrict your carb intake, stay below 20 grams of net carbs and below 35 of total carbs daily. Restrict your protein intake, eat between 0.6 and 0.8 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. So you'll have to do that by a calculation for yourself. And don't worry about fats. This is like the all go for it fat diet. So, with good fats, like I mentioned, but you're not going to be worrying about. Drinking plenty of water is really key, because a ketogenic diet does a lot of detoxification, and you can get very dehydrated. And so you want to drink lots of water. Stop snacking is key. So eating not in between meals, but really strictly Start fasting to boost ketone levels. So doing intermittent fasting is part of ketogenic diet. And that's fasting I usually recommend to patients for a strict intermittent fasting, doing about 8 o'clock at night to then that's 12 or 16 hours later. So about most of the people will do like 10 o'clock in the morning, even sometimes later, 12 o'clock, really going into that lunch phase and having something for breakfast, like a bulletproof coffee, which would be having a fat, basically coffee to fuel you and help you to burn fat in the morning, energize the system, and then moving into eating food for lunch and dinner, and then not snacking in between, and then cutting yourself off in the evening. So it's very regimented, so to speak, in the eating times. Maintaining a regular exercise routine. This is really key for, of course, all nutritional plans, but especially for a ketogenic diet, because we want to burn fat. And you could think of when we're exercising, that's what we're doing. You can supplement if necessary with any specific ketogenic supplements. There's lots out there. If you need recommendations, please feel free to reach out to me. And always remember to check the ingredients on the labels, because there's lots of sneaky stuff in there. And then you're like, oh, I just got, I was trying not to eat any sugar. And then guess what? There was sugar in this. So you really want to make sure you're reading labels. And I recommend to not buy a lot of like ketogenic foods that you might see on the market, because they're really heavily processed. And our goal here is to eat healthy, natural, whole foods. So sticking to the outside aisles of the grocery store and your meal plan will really be helpful. So measuring progress and results. So I love this little picture here. Isn't this beautiful? Look at those veggies, vibrancy. And you're eating healthy fats with the eggs and the avocado and those greens and the radishes. Super yummy and delicious. So no doubt, one of the most motivational things about losing weight is being able to see and measure your results, right? You want to be like, you're working, you want to see results. It's a huge boost to look in the mirror and see a leaner you, right? Especially if that's your goal, and to feel your clothes getting looser. So going by feeling is great, but you need to measure your progress to truly get the reassurance you need that the keto diet's working, right? Otherwise you're like, well, why am I doing this? So there's kind of some different ways to monitor your success. So number one is by measuring ketosis. So that's what I talked about before, when your body goes into that state of burning fat and your release of those ketones from the liver. And the way this is done by testing the byproduct ketones, right? So we're testing that of the process that's released in the body, and they come out in your breath, sweat, and urine. So self-testing urine strips for testing your urine allows you to see when your body first goes into ketosis and how long you're staying in the ketosis. And you can buy those really easily. They're online or at the drugstore. It's like a ketogenic urine kit. So that, let me know. You can send me a message after the webinar, and I'd be happy to send you the link for that. And maybe what I'll do is I'll be sending out the guide that goes with this wonderful webinar, and I'll have a link in there, so that way you'll be ready to go. So again, the strips are neutral in color, and they change to shades of pale pink to deep purple, depending on your ketosis. The darker the color, the more ketones you're burning. So I highly, highly recommend, especially when you're first starting a ketogenic diet, that you're using something to measure your ketones to see if you're in ketosis. So really important. And then later on, you can purchase a specific like ketone meter if you're really getting that involved, or doing it for a longer period of time. So another option is to have a complete blood chemistry done. So that would be a complete blood panel, and you could check with me if that's something that you're interested in. And this would show you like, what are your lipid levels? What are your blood sugar levels? You do that before and then after. Like say you have a history of high cholesterol, you could, okay, I'm going to do this ketogenic diet to see if it's really going to make my total cholesterol levels go down. So you do the ketogenic diet, and boom, you see these amazing results because you actually have that quantitative and qualitative measurement of your blood work. So I recommend that if you're that type of person that likes to see those results, or if you're working with a physician or myself that wants to see that too. So you can measure weight loss, of course, by weighing yourself. I only recommend once a week, preferably at that same day and same time. Morning is really great for that because you don't want to get into the mental game, especially if you're a female. We have a lot of changes in our body with menses and or perimenopause and bloating. I mean, lots of different things. So you don't want to trigger that and think you're not having success. During that first week, you're going to likely see a huge change, but don't be fooled. Some of it will be fat loss, but some of it's also retained water loss. So you want to measure yourself to keep track of that weight loss. So keeping a little journal is key. And if you're working out while on a diet, you may gain weight through lean muscle mass. So sometimes you don't always see this big shift. Like the first week, you'll see a shift, and then it kind of like evens out a little bit as you're building up more muscle and the fat is leaving, right? But muscle weighs more than fat. So sometimes you're like, oh, my clothes are looser, but I don't see a shift on the scale. So that's why. And you want to measure if you're losing fat, you need to see if you're losing inches, right? So I always like to recommend, do a quick measurement with a soft tape measure around the chest area, the arms, the legs, the abdomen, to really so you can track those results. Measuring and tracking your weight loss, if you're working out while on the diet, is really key, right? We really want to be able to exercise, follow the ketogenic diet to see results. And measuring and tracking the weight loss is an easy process, and it can help keep you motivated, right? Motivated is important because otherwise, why do we want to keep on doing something? So how to know if you're already in ketosis. So again, to find out if you're in ketosis, measure it with the blood strips or the urine. And if you prefer not to use these kinds of measuring process, you can try other options which are available. You may use this short list below here of physical symptoms, which will help you to figure out if you're already in a keto state. So here they are, 1 through 4. 1, you're experiencing increased urination. So a keto diet is naturally diuretic, meaning it pulls the fluids out of the system. That's why I mentioned before, it's so key to drink a lot of water. So you will more likely find yourself going back and forth to the bathroom more often, right? So, okay, great. I'm drinking more water. I'm most likely in a state of ketosis. So acetoacetate, which is a ketone in the body, is excreted through the process of urination, which can lead to more and more bathroom visitation. So particularly for those who are just getting started with a diet. So that's going to be a good sign that you're in ketosis. So number 2, you're experiencing dry mouth. So when you experience increased urination, like I just mentioned, number 1, you will often experience dry mouth and become thirstier, right? Of course, like water is leaving the system. So make sure you drink plenty of water. And I always recommend electrolytes on a ketogenic diet, really key for replenishing the sodium, potassium, and magnesium. Really important. And if you need a specific recommendation for that, let me know, or I'll send some out when I send out the recap too. I have some great brands that I recommend. Make sure you continue to drink plenty of water and replenish, again, your electrolytes. If you're just going to do water, you want to make sure you're getting your magnesium, salt, and potassium, whether that's adding like a pinch of salt to your water every day or drinking an electrolyte. If you're going to drink an electrolyte, make sure that you're not doing one with added sugar, but use one with stevia. Remember those sugars that I mentioned in the beginning. Okay, so number 3, you're experiencing bad breath. You're like, well, that's not really the best symptom, or the best bonus, but let me explain why. So acetone is a ketone in the body, and which is often excreted in your breath. And it may smell like a sharp, overripe fruit, like kind of like rotting fruit a little bit. So this is like the same as nail polish remover, if you know that smell. So don't worry. This is temporary and it's part of the process. It'll disappear over time. But this is a key sign like, oh yeah, it's working. I'm getting into ketosis and I'm burning fat. Yay. So number 4, you are experiencing reduced hunger and increased energy levels. Yay, that should be your like high five there. That's great, right? So after you get past the keto flu, which I'm going to talk about shortly, you'll find yourself experiencing lower hunger levels while feeling a clearer, more energized mental state. It feels great. You're going to love it. And don't obsess with different methods of measuring and testing, and certainly don't compare yourself to others. This is your individual experience. Just focus more on the aspect of proper nutrition, eating healthy, following a ketogenic diet well laid out. Make sure you're eating the proper foods and staying within the range. Then you're going to be in ketosis. When we have to follow something really strictly, it can be a pain, right? So, if you're following something that is laid out for you, it's a lot easier. Okay, so let's talk about what are the types of ketogenic diets, because there's a couple different ones. So here you go. So carbs are not necessary to effectively build muscles in the body, and a keto diet is an excellent way to achieve good muscle tone. So if you're, out there, especially a lot of women who are tuning into the webinar tonight, if this is resonating, and men, this diet is not just geared towards women. It's multifactorial in that way, or multi-sex. And if you're looking to really build muscle tone, this is great. However, protein intake is very crucial when it comes to this. Your muscles need protein. And if you want to gain mass, you need to eat about 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per lean body of mass. So on a keto diet, putting muscle on can slow down because the body's total fats are not increasing that much. Does that make sense? So if you want to put on body fat while building muscle at the same time, choose a type of keto diet from the list below here. So 1, this SKD, standard keto diet. This is the classic, common, and well-known. Many people follow this and see amazing results. This is my 28 ketogenic diet plan. Targeted keto diet, TKD. This is a good variation in which you're eating the standard or SKD diet, but at the same time, increase the intake of fast digesting carbs before working out. So this is really geared towards athletes. And on this keto diet, carbs make up a small amount. So cyclical keto diet, so CKD, this is a good variation for keto for bodybuilders specifically. It provides in general 1 day a week to carb up and resupply the glycogen stores in the liver. So those are the 3 types. So you might hear about those or have heard of those. So I want to clarify those so you're really clear. So the main one I'm talking about today and recommending in the basics and getting jump started is the standard ketogenic diet, or SKD. And for those who are working out, exercising intensely, the best keto diets you can try are the TKD and the CKD. So while there are other types of keto diets available today, lots of different ones, these are the 3 that I'm mentioning that you'll see work wonders and are amazing when you follow them properly. Okay, is physical performance affected by keto diet? So I get this question a lot, so I wanted to throw it in the webinar. So many people have conflicting thoughts about the keto diet's impact on physical performance for athletes. A keto diet does not affect physical performance in the long run. In some cases, some might experience temporary drops in their physical performance because you're shifting the whole way your body has been used to eating. But this will subside as you continue replenishing electrolytes and fluids and adapting to the fat intake. So don't worry about that. According to this study, so there's a study done, keto diets had no effect on athletic performance at all. The study was done on 8 professional gymnasts, which acquired the same results. So the group was fed like a strict diet of green veggies, high quality fats, and protein. And even after a long cardio session, the keto diet did not affect performance or intensity. So there you go. So that was just a study that was done. So that gives you some information on performance. The only real time that a keto diet affects physical performance is in specific exercises that need explosive action and hardcore workouts. So if you participate in this particular type of physical exercise often and want to boost your performance while in ketosis, like remember that's when we're burning that fat and releasing ketones, you can begin to carb up by taking 25 to 50 grams half an hour before your training. So that's would be here in the targeted keto diet, or even the cyclical keto diet, really carbing up. Okay, so what are the dangers brought on by a keto diet? Let's talk about this. So the primary risk of a keto diet is ketoacidosis. So what is that? So this is when the ketone production in the body might get too high, and it's not a normal situation. So for many, it's a challenge just to get into the optimal range for keto diet. So that is very, very rare. There are many misconceptions regarding low carb dieting, which have resulted in an unpopular opinion of ketosis. So over the last 30 years, many studies have looked at the beneficial effects of high fats and few carbs in the body and the effect on overall health. So in some cases, other people are confused about the high fat, high carb diets that can be terribly fatal to the body. In fact, if you often eat lots of fatty foods, which are also high in sugar, you may be more likely to get yourself in serious health trouble. And that's the standard American diet right there. And that's why we're having so many cases of obesity, cardiovascular problems, hormonal problems, problems with the thyroid, all that's connected. When you're eating high carb and high fat foods, your body is naturally producing glucose. Carbs are the easiest element that the body can process. Boom. Therefore, the body will use them first and store excess fat. That's why when you're on the ketogenic diet, you're having low carb, high fat, it changes the way your body burns fuel. Really key. And why then you feel more energy and you have more energy for your brain and your body. As a result, this will cause, when you're doing that other diet I just mentioned, whether you're doing high carb and high fat, you see weight gain, right? And other high intensity health problems. If you're thinking about moving to a low fat diet, the best thing to do is to switch to a keto diet because it's better when compared to low fat dieting. I 100% promise you that. The research says it and states it. Make sure to consult your doctor. So anytime you're wanting to switch to a new specific diet, check with me or another health practitioner or your physician to see if this is right for you. It will go. If you are taking medications, you should also be more vigilant with what you're eating. If you're breastfeeding, you should be especially careful as you may likely need higher amounts of carbs and protein. Okay, let's talk about the next one, Keto Flu. This is something I really want to make sure you understand and you're aware of. So Keto Flu. So for the beginners, the keto flu is common, but nothing to be concerned about. It will go away after a few days and it's not permanent. When you're transitioning to the keto diet, you'll feel some slight body discomforts, such as nausea, fatigue, cramps, headaches, and more. So this is your body detoxing. This is actually a good thing. You're changing the cravings and addictions your body has to these bad foods. And here are some of the main common reasons that you're feeling the keto flu. So you're transitioning. Number one, the body is equipped to process carb intake. To make this possible for the body, it may create extra enzymes. During the process, the brain's energy may run low, which can possibly lead to a headache, nausea, and grogginess. So reducing your carb intake will help if you have an issue with this. So keto is a diuretic, like I mentioned before. So you'll often find yourself going to the bathroom to urinate. This is attributed to electrolyte and water loss in the body. So again, hydrate, and use electrolytes. Make sure you increase those. It's really key. Once the body gets used to your new way of eating, these symptoms will subside and you can enjoy your newfound energy. Yay! Okay, common side effects of the ketogenic diet. So just like other types of diets, a keto diet also has its own side effects that you may not have experienced from other types of dieting. So I want to bring these to your attention. So these are the most common. Cramps. You experience cramps during the day or night. Again, up your intake of electrolytes, especially magnesium. Heart palpitations. Your heart rate may quicken. To lessen the palpitations, drink lots of fluid and avoid eating salty foods. This will switch as you adjust. Constipation. So this is a result of you not drinking enough water. So make sure you're drinking enough water. Rehydrate often to avoid this. When you're on a keto diet, expect that these common side effects will occur. So if you're already like, okay, this is what's going to happen ahead of time, it won't be a surprise. If you want to avoid these side effects, drink more water. Are you hearing me here? Drink more water. Okay, less common side effects. So these are common side effects when you're on a keto diet, but there's also some that are more rare. So I just want to make sure you're aware of these. The short list is just to make you aware that although rare, you may experience some of these. So hair loss, this is temporary. If you want to avoid hair loss, take multivitamins. And I can really recommend a great one. So just let me know. Decrease milk production for breastfeeding moms. Like I mentioned, always check with your practitioner or physician if you're breastfeeding and see if this diet is right for you. Gallstones. When you're on a ketogenic diet, your gallstone issues may be treated, but you may need time to see the results. So just check with your physician about that. Cholesterol increase. So your cholesterol levels may first increase if you're on the keto diet because you're having that extra fat, but then as you burn it, those cholesterol levels are actually going to lower. Keto rash. So sometimes people experience a rash because their body's detoxing. This correlation has had some scientific aspect because of that detoxification, and the ketones and the bile salts are being released. So you can have that itching on the skin. Drink more water. So in indigestion, the keto diet may cause indigestion for some time. When this happens, you should further limit your fat intake or take a digestive enzyme to help break down those fats so your body's not used to. So troubleshooting further. So you're like, okay, I'm all set. I'm ready to go. Now I'm having some issues. I want to talk about kind of what those troubleshooting might be or what that looks like. So when you're on a keto diet, you may wonder how much weight you're going to lose. Like, okay, am I going to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds? What am I going to lose here? So weight loss will depend on your execution of the diet and of course what your starting weight is. And if you want to lose weight quickly, integrating exercise is key. If you want to track your carb intake, so some people like to track, that's very common. There's lots of ketogenic apps you can use for this. So look up, in your app on your phone or online to find some that work, or send me a message, an email. I can help with that. There are several apps again nowadays, so just look for one that does carb tracking or a ketogenic specific one. There'll be times when you will cheat on the ketogenic diet. Don't worry, right? Like you'll get back on track easily. It's easy to get back on when you have a plan. Just keep in mind you should be strict when it comes to fighting your cravings. So if you do stray, it takes 90 days for your body to reset, to rebuild the red blood cells. And your feet, if you've cut off their supply, like if you have a sugar addiction, you cut off the supply and then you put it back in, it's going to feed those cells again, but it's also going to re-trigger your addictions and re-trigger your neurotransmitter response and have changes in mood. So I really recommend being strict, especially in those first 28 days. So saving money, oops, I think I didn't finish there. Let's go back to troubleshooting. If you do not eat dairy, eggs, or meat, but still want to try a keto diet, you can do so. There are some plans out there for a vegetarian keto diet. And you can go online and look there's some cookbooks that are really geared towards that. The diet does not have any quote unquote real rules, but always keep in mind, eat low carb foods. You should also only have a moderate intake of protein. So when your keto diet is successful, it's always best to maintain that diet, right? You're like, oh my God, I'm having success. Once you stray off of it, you're not going to have that so much success. When you start going back to your bad eating habits, your weight's going to come back, which will make you start to want to do the weight loss cycle all over again, right? So might as well stick with it. Weight loss is a way of life, not a quick fix with an end date. I want to make sure that's really key, right? This is geared towards you finding out about the ketogenic diet, jump-starting that weight loss, but you want to have something that's sustainable for you long-term. So saving money and budgeting. So there are people who may pass on a keto diet because they think it's expensive. The diet can be expensive, but you don't have to break the bank to eat healthy, right? You want to save money when following this diet, learn how to look for deals, learn how to shop effectively. And then also, in the beginning, you're really throwing out everything that you might have had in your cupboard that's really not serving you, that's not healthy. So you're going to be buying some new things. So you're in that first bit, you're going to have that increase of your, stocking the cupboard, etc. Thrive Market is a really good one that has a lot of great foods you can get that are dietary focused, like keto, paleo, Whole30. So if you're looking for a way to really find things easy, that's a great one you can go to. I don't have any affiliation with that. I'm just saying, like, giving you some examples. With this practice, by going through a company like Thrive Market or coupon shopping or buying food on sale, looking for deals, buying a couple things, stocking your cupboard, it will save you money in the long run. And you can also buy food in bulk wherever there are discounts. So in this way, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a lot of food, right? Don't, of course, buy something that's going to go bad, but you could buy, if there was a particular meat on sale or eggs, you could buy more and freeze it. If you really want to save money, cook your own keto meals. This is really key because you're going to be able to cook something, have a leftover, eat it for lunch, etc. This is the best solution, and you'll have less expenses and stick to the keto eating plan. Okay, let's talk about the key takeaways and my advice. So being on a keto diet can have a big impact on your body because you're eating more fats than carbs. This diet is hard at the beginning. I'm not going to lie there. You're making a huge shift. It's something you haven't done before. But once you get used to it, you're going to find it easy to handle, and you're going to feel so good that you're going to be like, oh, wow, this is easy for me to do. Just takes like a little bit to get into the rhythm because it's something new, right? If you really want to thrive on the diet, follow these tips. 1, be strict. Being strict will help you see visible results quickly, which can be fulfilling. You should discipline yourself when it comes to carb intake and cut down your cravings. That's really key. Number 2, always do your own tracking. So tracking what you eat is good when you're on this diet. You will know how many carbs you've eaten, which will remind you to avoid having a large amount of carbs at another meal. Always be hydrated. Number 3, drinking water is the best way to hydrate. If you don't drink enough water often enough, you're going to be dehydrated and you're not going to be happy on this diet. Trust me. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about my 28-day ketogenic low-carb program. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So then if you're ready to dive in and you really want to jumpstart, this is really easy and you can get going. So here's the link here. This is an amazing program and you can sign up for it right there on that link, and I'll send that out as well. But it's doclulu.com, super easy, my website. / the ketogenic meal plan. Super easy. Okay, so let's talk about what this is. So first of all, this entire 28 day program is only $33. It's amazing. And what are you going to get with it? You're going to get my secret to success when it comes to the ketogenic diet, because it really lies in religious adherence to the program, to the extent that it would soon become your lifestyle, right? So as you move into it, you're like, oh, I'm not eating these high carbs, not eating the sugar, your body adjusts. You will find our program or my program to be sound enough to be followed for as long as you like, without jeopardizing your peace of mind or your taste buds. From the right ingredients to diet food preparation, budgeting, and even shopping, this program will never leave you alone in your transformational journey, right? I'm your guide. So here's what you get. Outstanding keto recipes. They're going to be set up for success. A list of suggested meals for 28 days and a grocery shopping list to make your life easier. Fun and creative ways to the keto lifestyle so you can manage your weight like a pro. How to test your blood sugar at home and a ketogenic daily chart. Awesome. So I've designed a very holistic program for beginners to embark on their weight loss journey effortlessly. And I would guarantee, me and my team, that you would have a direct access to all the resources needed as you start. So what are you waiting for, right? I'd love for you to jumpstart into the program, and I want to see your results. So there again is the link. And that's doclulu.com / the ketogenic meal plan. So I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. So this is an example meal plan. So here it's laid out for you. Look how awesome this is. You get your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, your snacks for week 1 and week 2. And you can see here some of the amazing things that you're going to be eating. So you can also see, you'll make something for dinner, and then it will kind of transition to another meal. So you're using leftovers like zucchini tuna melt and cheeseburger salad. You can see there's some sweet things. There's some peanut butter chocolate chip bites. There's everything bagel celery. There's also breakfast in here with, you can do some pancakes and grain-free oatmeal, salmon salads, super delicious meals, you guys. You are going to love it. And then I want to show you an example grocery list. So here you go. It's all laid out for you. You get the grocery list, so you know exactly what to buy at the store. No worries about going in and being lost. Fruits and vegetables, meat, eggs, and seafood, dairy, nuts and seeds, baking supplies, because you're going to be making up some fun things, some condiments, a lot of that stuff you probably have in your refrigerator already or in your pantry, herbs and spices, and then some extras there. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending tonight. If you're really ready to sign up for the Ketogenic Diet Plan, the 28-day program, there's the link. I'll resend that out tomorrow. And also, if you're thinking that, okay, I need to have a consult with Dr. LuLu to really see if this is right for me, everyone that attends tonight gets a free 20-minute visit, and that's worth $199. I have a special like pre-consultation that I do to get patients into my practice. So that's free for everyone attending tonight. And you can use the code new patient consult 100. And there you can book on my website at doclulu.com, and make sure you're following me on Instagram. You might have found this webinar through there. On Instagram, I have health tips, recipes, free webinars, programs, and tons more stuff. I'm going to have some upcoming programs the end of this year and into 2022, hormonal health program, and the gut restoration program. So again, thank you all so much for attending. I love teaching you about the ketogenic diet and helping you jumpstart your weight loss.